Okay, the discussion tonight is about Hatmana. Hatmana means to have a pot which has in it food. It could be soup, it could be beef, whatever it is. And this pot is not on the fire. This pot is off the fire. And you want to keep this pot hot. Shabbos, you don't want to keep on the fire, let's say. You don't want to keep the fire running the whole Shabbos. So what you do is you could cover it, surround it with towels, something like that, in order to keep it warm. So the question is that okay? Are you allowed to do that? You're allowed to do that on Shabbos, you're allowed to do that before Shabbos. Same things also, even let's say it's on the fire. Are you allowed to cover something, which let's say you have a pot of chicken soup, and then on top of the chicken soup you put something, you put challah or something, you're allowed to cover the challah. Or let's say
on Shabbos or before Shabbos?
On Shabbos or before Shabbos. The question, we're going to discuss both. I'm just saying what the topic is, what we're going to discuss. What we want to, before we get into what the texts have to say, what it says in the Gemara and the Shulchan Aruch, first want to know where we're heading. And then also the question would be about the crack pot. Using a crack pot on Shabbos, is a crack pot a problem of Hatmana? Maybe you could say it's a problem because it's surrounded. Because there's two pots. There's the pot which you put, which has the food inside it, and then you're putting it inside another pot, what cooks it. So is that considered Hatmana? So these are just some of the questions which
ways of doing things, but
right. So this is just the beginning. I don't know if we're going to discuss everything this Thursday. Maybe next Thursday we'll continue. We'll get a start. We first want to start with the foundations. What's the foundations? Going back to the Gemara, and then we could see at the end how it applies today. Okay, so it starts from in the Gemara, Maseches Shabbos. Sorry, I don't have copies. The Gemara, there's two Mishnahs. There's a Mishnah in the fourth chapter of the fourth perek of Maseches Shabbos, and the whole perek is called perek B'met Taimnim. B'met Taimnim means in what could you use to wrap around a pot of food on Shabbos, before Shabbos? What's the question? What could you use? So, understand the Met Taimnim, because we're going to say that Erev Shabbos, you're allowed to do Hatmana. On Shabbos, you're not allowed to do Hatmana. Shabbos, you're not allowed to do any Hatmana, period. You're not allowed, there's no such thing, there's no heter to l'chatchila, to start wrapping something, a pot of food, in clothing, in cloth, anything, whatever it is on Shabbos, period.
On Shabbos, you're not allowed to make a
nothing, no Hatmana. Now, Erev Shabbos, before Shabbos, there's some things you could use for Hatmana and some things you can't. What are the things that you could and what are the things you can't? There's a name for them. The things which you could, are called davar hamesiv hevel. Literally, it's a davar she'eni mesiv hevel. I'm sorry, something which does not add heat. You would think, what else adds heat besides for fire? So yes, it's true. You cannot. There are certain items, certain types of materials, which add, make it more, add heat, add, I would say, make it more stuffy and heat. Certain materials add heat. He says salt. He says
Salt adds heat.
It's a chemical reaction.
Depends on how much.
He says it's obviously not like fire, obviously, but slightly. If it's kept for a long time in that thing. Sand, if it's warm sand. Fertilizer, sulfur, bunch of things. The Mishnah says. Those are things which add hevel, which add. So those things, Erev Shabbos, you cannot wrap inside those things. It's not wrapping, I'm saying you cannot hide it inside those things. You cannot take, let's go back to the time of the Gemara. If you have a pot of food, you cannot take that pot of food and put it totally in salt or sand, warm sand.
Before Shabbos.
Before Shabbos, even before Shabbos.
Okay, what about then putting it on the blast, on top of the fire? That's already adding heat.
Yeah, that's also a problem. And that's a discussion we have to discuss.
Well, you're allowed to do it before Shabbos.
But it's not wrapped around over there.
No, it's not wrapped around, but it's
So
heat, the fire.
very good question. Very good question. That is called that's called shia. Shahiyah. That's called shahiyah. Shahiyah is different than Hatmana. It's two things. Shahiyah is different than Hatmana. That's the Perek Kira. Oh, Perek Kira talks about shahiyah. That's the third Perek. The fourth Perek calls Hatmana. What's the idea of shahiyah? Shahiyah is if you're just putting it on the fire without wrapping it in anything. So that is mutter at Shabbos. Maybe eventually, maybe soon we'll say, maybe if we have time, maybe we'll get into the difference why shahiyah is mutter and Hatmana is not. But Hatmana basically is your Erev Shabbos. You're now going to take a pot of food, and you're putting this pot of food in salt. Let's say you're wrapping it entirely in salt. Because this is called being matmin in davar hamesiv hevel. Okay, and that you're not allowed to do Erev Shabbos. What are you allowed to do? You are allowed to be matmin. You're allowed to do Hatmana and davar she'eni mesiv hevel, something which does not add heat and stuff.
What's the first Hatmana that you did that was mesiv hevel?
Davar hamesiv hevel.
What did you do?
So you took a pot of food and you put it in. There's certain items which the Mishnah tells us which add heat.
Insulation.
Not only insulate, but also add more stuffiness and heat to it, and sort of like warm it up. Even though it's like slightly, I'm saying it's maybe today. I don't understand it really so much. But let's say if you leave it for a whole night, for a long time, it wouldn't cool it down. It would more add.
Let's say like a hot pot or something. Something inside a hot pot.
Around something like a crock pot.
A crock pot.
Oh. A crock pot. So this is going to be a discussion also. That this is a discussion on the Peskin. But if it would, yeah, it is something that adds it. The question about a crock pot is because we're going to say, I'm going to jump like.
You can put tinfoil in between and.
You have one, you're covering it completely with one, because there's another pot covering. There's a problem. There is a problem there. There's something you can put underneath. You put some aluminum foil or pieces.
Right, but that's really because of shahiyah. That's not really because of Hatmana. The reason why if it is Hatmana or not is big machlekes and peskin. The machlekes it has to do with has to do with this space between the pot and the outside pot, the two pots. That's what it's dependent on. But we'll leave that for later. But yes, in
theory,
that's a concept. Yeah, that's the idea of something which is Mesiv Hevel for today. Because today we do not really have. I'm saying practically nobody's putting it in salt, nobody's putting it in sand, and nobody's putting in all these things, which the Mishnah says. So practically that is the only case of something which is Mesiv Hevel. Right, but to totally immerse.
You need a lot of salt.
But nobody immerses a pot of food inside salt today.
You don't bury it inside.
Don't bury it totally inside. To be Hatmana means to totally bury it inside. To keep it warm. So nobody does that today, right? So today that's really the only situation. There is another thing. If there's fire under it and you have a pot on top of that and you want to put the challah like we discussed and you want to put around the challah so it has from under a Mesiv Hevel. Okay, that will be for another time also. But what is very also more common is something which is not Mesiv Hevel. Something not Mesiv Hevel is anything. You could take tinfoil. You could put a chicken pot, a chicken soup pot, let's say, to put it, wrap it around. Right, you took it off the fire before Shabbos. And put in my house. We wrap it around with towels.
Oh, towels, yeah.
Towels. Yeah. You want to, and it stays hot until the meal, right?
It's what, an aluminum pot or a stainless steel pot?
Stainless steel pot. You take it off the fire right before Shabbos, and you wrap it around with towels.
No, you can't do that.
So what can't you do? So on Shabbos, you for sure can't do that.
Even before Shabbos, I was told.
And before Shabbos, you can't bury something, immerse something in something which adds heat. For example, theoretically,
you said keeping is something else.
But the towels, maintaining is just maintaining. They're just keeping the heat. It's not adding heat. The Mishnah tells us things which add heat. He says that you can't do out of Shabbos.
A thermos, you can put it in a thermos.
A thermos you could, because it's just containing. So if you're just containing the heat in something that just contains heat, you're allowed to do out of Shabbos. But on Shabbos you can't do that either.
These hot water Chinix that have a keep warm button, but they also have one for heating on timer then boiling.
Right, but the thing is a Chinix is one pot. Is that, I'm saying that in a second thing.
Right.
So it's a lot after considered Hatmana. So basically make it clear that on Shabbos you can't do any Hatmana at all. You can't take if let's say my chicken pot, it came already seis kechavim.
And the towel fell off.
Towel fell off is another discussion.
Okay.
You have to get into that. Because you can't lechatchila on Shabbos bury it. You can't in the first place start putting the towels on it there Shabbos. Initially. Which means initially you can't take a pot. Let's say I have a chicken soup pot, right? I didn't, for whatever reason, I had to run out for mincha, and I forgot, and I took it off the fire, and I didn't surround it with towels, right? Now I come back, and I want to surround it with towels now.
So already Shabbos.
It's already Shabbos. Now let's. I'm gonna say it's already tzeis because we're gonna.
This is already enough.
Not stam shkia, but I'm talking about tzeis echad. So then you're not allowed to surround it with towels anymore.
For the first time.
For the first time, right? Fine. So but Erev Shabbos, you are allowed to initially bury something in something which just contains the heat. Davar she'eni Mesiv Hevel. Something which is she'eni Mesiv Hevel, which means something just contains. It does not add heat. Not davar ha-Mesiv Hevel, only davar she'eni Mesiv Hevel. So that's the Mishnah in Zayin Beis. This Mishnah says, the question starts with what? In what could you bury? In what things could you bury? Which means...
And what's the Mishnah, when it says that, means Erev Shabbos or Shabbos?
So we're talking about Erev Shabbos, because on Shabbos you can't bury anything.
Okay.
You can't immerse anything.
Right.
So the question is, the question is, what things are considered things which are Meisiv Hevel,
Right.
so things which add heat, which you're not allowed to even Erev Shabbos bury it inside, and which things are things that you can, which you could Erev Shabbos put inside Erev Shabbos because it does not add heat. Well, that's the question. And that's what the Mishnah goes on to say, a list of things which are Meisiv Hevel, which add heat, which Erev Shabbos you're not allowed to immerse it inside them. So it's a Mishnah. It starts with a Mishnah. This is all midrabanan. It's all rabbinically. This is not something which is menatayot. And we're going to discuss why the Rabbanim, the Gemara is going to discuss why the Rabbanim decided to make this gzeira, to make this prohibition, to make this decree, decree to tell us that we're not allowed to do this.
What's the daraisa? Bishul?
There's no daraisa.
The daraisa is bishul.
There's no daraisa. The question is, what was the gzeira? You're asking for what was the gzeira on? For what? Right. So that's what we're going to discuss in the Gemara. So in the Gemara earlier, Lamed Aleph, Amud Aleph, in the Bamis, we can start with it. There's a Mishnah. The Mishnah says that not only Erev Shabbos. So we know clearly that Shabbos you're not allowed to immerse anything. Here, Erev Shabbos, you are allowed to do it only. You're allowed to immerse it through Hatmana. Only something that maintains, not that increases. Darash Eini Meisiv Hevel. What about from Shkia, from when it becomes in twilight, for the whole twilight zone, before three stars come out, starts from sunset until seis. What's
the machlokes over there?
So the Mishnah says, Safek Hashecha, Safek Eini Hashecha, Ben Hashmashes, twilight, right, which means this time between sunset and seis. The Mishnah finishes off and says, Taim the Nesachamen. Then you could also immerse through Hatmana, obviously in something which is not Meisiv Hevel, something which only maintains the heat. So which means you could take whatever you could do Friday, you could also do until Tseis, until it becomes actually night, until the time for that night. Same thing. Even though it's already Shabbos. And Gemara's going to ask why. What do you mean? It's already Shabbos. Why should it make a difference? You're allowed to do malacha once it comes Shkia, sunset. You're not allowed to do malacha. You're not allowed to do anything, right? Even if something that Rabbanon, something which is rabbinically forbidden, you're also not allowed to do once it becomes Shkia, once it comes sunset. So why should I say that you're allowed to do Hatmana when it comes sunset? If the rabbis didn't allow us to do it on Shabbos, so they shouldn't allow us to do it already starting from sunset. That's what Gemara's also going to say.
It's not Gzeira, that's what you said.
Is it Gzeira? Fine, but
what's special about the Tseis HaKochavim, the
Shkia, that there we say it's fine.
That we say it's okay.
Because I don't know if we say Gzeira by Shkia. I think we just always say that it's starting from Shkia, whatever. There are some atadim by certain cases, but I don't know if we apply the Gzeira. Fine. So the end of the Lamed Aleph on the bottom last three lines. So Rava says, Rava says, but what is the reason? What actually is the reason why we cannot do Hatmana on something which is only maintaining the heat? What's the reason for that?
You mean on Shabbos?
No, it says Ben Shmoshes.
Mishach Shecha from Shabbos. On Shabbos, you mean from nighttime? You mean from Tzeis?
You mean from Tzeis.
From Tzeis.
So that's later than we say.
That's what I said, Shabbos.
Right, no, because until then you're allowed to.
Correct.
So he says, what's the reason why? Gzeira Shem Yartiach. you might come to cook. You might come to cook this,
To boil it up.
boil up this food.
In other words, if you're going to be mad timing on Shabbos, right?
Okay, so let's see what Rashi says. 1 second.
Even with Shalai Meisiv Havel, then you'll come to the Martia.
Right. Let's
That's
see what
the,
Rashi says. How does Rashi explain this?
Simple explanation of it.
Right. So how does Rashi explain it? What's going to happen if you cook something out of Shabbos? Out of Shabbos, you cook the food.
Right.
Then you're going to come, and now after you cooked it, you took it off the fire, or I'm saying the fire went out, whatever it was, turned off the fire. You now wanna do Hatmana. Okay? You're gonna find that the pot is cold. You're
When I reheat it.
you're gonna find the pot is cold. You want to reheat it. So you want this pot to be hot, right? You cook the pot and you want it to be a hot pot. You like the food to be hot. So
In other words, there's no point in Hatmana in a davar she'eina ma'asav hevel unless it's already hot.
Right, if it's already cooled
So
down.
if you're coming to do Hatmana, you say, hey, I gotta heat it up.
exactly, perfect, right.
That's
The nimsa,
exactly.
and what's the problem? What's the problem with boiling it up? Obviously, the nimsa mavashel Shabbos. Problem with bishul.
Goodbye, John.
That's why we say to cover the switch, cover the dial, for whatever it is, so that you shouldn't come accidentally to turn it off. Even when we're...
That I don't know about this. I don't know about how that works by Hatmana, but it definitely for Shehiyah, it's an important thing also.
I'm saying if there was some situation where you could turn it on in the time of the Mishnah, where you could, instead of turning it to 0, you could turn it to 5.
Right, but that means you're putting it on the fire itself. Putting it on the fire itself is Shehiyah. So, in order to the shouldn't, so the problem with Shem Yechata, maybe going to turn on the fire is right there. So then there's different eitzes how to deal with it. Over here, you're not actually putting it in the fire, but we're worried that you might come to put it in the fire. So the Gemara asks, it's not really a question; it's a rhetorical question. Over here, Bamas says before that, there's a question. The Gemara asks a question. Rabbi asks a question. Ihachi bein hashmashas nami nigzer. Bein hashmashas. Why, if this is a concern, and we're saying that the Rabban and the rabbis forbade to do Hatmana in something which is not Meisav Hevel, something which just contains the heat. Why bein hashmashas?
You're allowed.
Are you allowed? Until Tzeis, you're allowed to do it. Should be a problem since the rabbis forbade it. It should be also ready for the beginning of Shabbos, the onset of Shabbos, when sunset. So Rav answered, Stam K'teiris Leitchisin. Erev Shabbos, right before Shabbos, right by Bein Hashmashas, right by sunset, the pots are usually being taken right now off the fire.
It's hot.
And it's hot.
So
Usually,
you're not going to be Shana Martia.
it's not going to be cold.
Yeah.
It's not normal that it should be cold.
It's no kshash.
There's no kshash.
Good.
If it's on Shabbos, a while later, Seis time, a time of Ma'ariv, so there was already a while from when it was off the fire.
It's cooled down.
It cooled down. So then, it's more common that it should be cool. And therefore, then we're worried that if we're going to allow you to bury it, to do Hatmana in davar she'eini meisav hevel, you might, since you might find it cold, you might go and boil it up and be over on bishul.
I mean, the difference is somebody's going to say, if you let me put a towel around this cold soup, I'm going to stick it in salt. That's our concern, right? To heat it up. That's what we're saying.
The salt won't
You might come heat it up.
Oh, you're going to light the fire.
Directly, you put it on
You're going to
fire.
be Mavash.
Like you said, because you're going to find it cold. You're going to say, oh, I want to heat it up.
Before I put it in salt, or before I put towels around it.
Right, yeah.
I thought that if you're moisiv, That's what our concern was. But you're saying
No, we're talking about
We're
Davash
talking
Ein
about the
Mesevel.
towels,
On
not
Shabbos,
about the
something which is
sulah.
not Mesev Hevel. I might find it cold, and I'm going to put it on Shabbos. But Erev Shabbos, this is by Chashecha, by Ben Hashmashes. So then it's going to be. It's hot anyway. Usually the pots are being taken right now off the fire. So then I would say that therefore
less chance that you're going to reheat it
because it doesn't need to be.
So therefore allow Hatmana.
Therefore we allow Hatmana by then. But once it comes say, so then it pulls down, then I don't allow it. Davash Ein Mesevel. Amar Rabbi said another thing. So we're talking about on Shabbos, you're not allowed to do Hatmana. Hatmana means to insulate any pot of food in any object surrounded
you
by.
mean like put a blanket over the.
A blanket around it, anything.
But before Shabbos.
But before Shabbos, it depends. If it's something which just contains the heat, so then you're allowed to do it before Shabbos. But if it's something which adds heat, for example, maybe a crack pot, we have to discuss it. The time of the Gemara, they used to put it in like warm sand or salt or something which added heat also. So then you're not allowed to even do it even Erev Shabbos.
Sephardim, when they have children, Friday night, they put on top of this towel. My mother, Alev Shalom, for years. She got it from the Benish Chai.
Right,
Top of the
They do it before Shabbos.
Which
Not a tanur.
children, it's getting hot during the hours. When she's putting it,
But the
for
Torah was
Shabbos,
already done before
I don't
Shabbos?
think so.
What's the halacha for the crack?
I don't think so.
Tell us what it's dangerous.
There is a problem because
It's you have to ask your rabbi.
oh,
You have to ask your rabbi because I think generally I'm saying people use crack pots.
The tin foil in between.
or your little coins or something at the
Everybody
bottom.
You know,
You have to put something at the
only
bottom.
one person who does it.
There are people though, huh?
So you have to put something at the bottom.
That's another thing.
I mean,
Right,
from the second part that you
that's
put in.
because shahiyah. That's because you have to have foil in between. Just but just because you're asking, because it's really jumping.
It's very exciting.
The Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, the big Paiskin, he said you're not allowed to use a crock pot.
You're not allowed.
At all.
He said he considers it Hatmana.
Not for Shabbos, really.
No, I'm saying during the week. He's talking about. He said there is today. They made an invention of that it's basically it doesn't cover the whole top.
This much is out. The lid is out.
It's basically just the bottom. It's just like a bottom. And they even have something also, like you say, for the silver, so they have like a thing to separate between the actual metal and the pot.
Yeah, I
And
saw
you can
it.
buy it in the store now. That is not a problem with Hatmana because it doesn't cover all of it. Actually, Mazalman says that it has to be most part of it has to be not touching. So,
Most parts.
Right.
So it's,
personally, I got a present. Somebody gave me a crock pot.
Give it to me.
It's not so expensive, a crock pot, I'm saying, but you could buy $40. $12. But so I was learning about it. So personally, I made. It's funny to do, but I'm not saying you have to do this. You can see the Rabbi. Most people use it without. So I made a whole contraption, put silver foil under with like silver things in order to lift it up from the bottom. And this way, you have the whole bottom, you have the whole top, and also it was up, lifted a little bit up, so most of it was exposed. But like you say, many people, I'm saying to say maybe a majority, maybe you want to say like you never even heard of someone not doing it, do use it. And a lot of the poskim say it's fine. So you have to ask your rabbi. I'm saying I can't answer that
But
question.
even the crack that the inside comes out, the handles are out. The one that's old one piece maybe is a problem, but the one that has a handle,
Right.
at least
Well,
this
the
much
inner-
is out.
the
Right, but
inner
he
crack
says it has to be
part
roiv. It has to be the majority of the pot has to be exposed.
Exposed.
Those who say that it's fine, they say that the fact is that it's not that the crack pot is not actually touching your round. There's a space in between the actual pot and the crack pot. So they want to rely on that. Want to say that's why it's not a problem.
Only the bottom is touching.
But the problem is, so when you're making this silver foil, in order because of shahiyah, you have to make a separation between the pot and the crack pot. So you're making a little problem now because you're making it more stuck. It's now totally wrapped around. So on one hand, it's important because of shahiyah, which is another whole share, but at the same, so you have to be careful when you are making this foil. You have to be careful that
You're not bustling up.
you're not making it hatmana. You're not clinging it. It should be more, let's say, on the wall of the crack of the outside pot rather than on the wall of the inside pot. There should be some space still, even according to those shittas. You have to be careful about it. Okay, that's just because you asked, but
Hatmana is one of the Lamed Tet Melacha?
no, hatmana is a rabbinical something forbidden rabbinically.
It's not from the Torah.
It's not from the Torah, and that's what we're discussing now. We were just discussing that Rabbi explained why the Chachamim said that it's a problem. So they said that why can't you do something which is not Mesav Havel? Why can't you Erev Shabbos? Why on Shabbos can't you on Shabbos starting from Tzeis? Why can't you do Hatmana something which is Mesav Havel, something which adds heat, and also even something which doesn't add heat? Why can't you do it on Shabbos? The reason is because you might find a cold pot. When you're coming to put it in Hatmana, you're coming to wrap it around, you might find it's cold. And then you're going to go put it on the fire to heat it up and come to Bishul. So we're worried you might come to do Bishul. But Erev Shabbos, you could not do. You could do Erev Shabbos in something which is Meisel, something that which ain't Meisel, something which just contains the heat. You could do Erev Shabbos, like towels. But you can't Erev Shabbos. You can't do it in something which is Meisel. Let's say if the crackpot would be a problem at Hatmana, crackpot obviously adds heat. Even out of Shabbos, you wouldn't be allowed to do it. And now we're up in the Gemara explaining why out of Shabbos you can't insulate something which adds, even in something which adds heat.
In the time of the Gemara, they didn't have crackback.
No, so they had other things. They had the Mishnah. We were saying before, the Mishnah gives a list of things which added heat. They would hide the pot inside, let's say, salt or warm sand. These things were considered things which add stuffiness and heat to it, even though it's very little. But
they retain heat. Maybe they
don't only retain
accumulate
it,
heat.
but they also accumulate. Exactly.
Right, but it's regardless of whether or not the food is cooked, ready to eat.
Regardless, it has to be ready to eat. We're going to talk about that.
It has to be.
Fully cooked. Has to be fully cooked.
Fully cooked.
And according to the
To
Sfardim,
put something on top of it.
according to the Sfardim, it for sure has to be totally cooked. According to the Mechaber, the Ramah is the one who brings this opinion, who says that it can even be less. But he says only in those places where the minig is. But the places where the minig is not that way, you're not supposed to do it. Everyone has to l'chatchila. Has to be fully cooked.
Just keep it at home. That's what I have. Yeah. I don't know.
Fully cooked.
I know. I saw
For
my
what?
mother putting it
But this chalent, let me ask you a question. This chalent was off the fire?
on the fire.
You're talking about on the fire. Okay. On the fire is different.
Cook, and my mother used to put chicken and eggs and this. But she has special old towels, 3 or 4 of them, and she used to put it there. In the morning, we'd take it out and serve.
But it's still on the fire, though. It's
still on the fire.
So there's no
You never
reason
took it off from
putting
the fire.
putting the cover on.
Just keep
on the blood.
keeps the warming.
Stumbles on the blood.
Okay, it's I don't know if it's so simple because
Yeah, the blech or
Probably she has something.
and then they should not cover the whole
That was a
thing.
minhag. You know, fire cook.
It's on
In
the
this
blood.
camp on the
Well,
Benish Chai.
people who, I see there are
he knew
people
what
that
the
put
halacha
something on
was.
top.
first Benish Chai, I'm not gonna
They
argue
do
with
that
Benish
to
Chai.
sure. I've seen they have it.
My grandfather was a shopper to the Benish.
You can't argue with any Islam. That would
But I want to. It's an interesting thing. I have to look into that. I'm saying Benish Chai. You have to look. He goes according to the Parshias to find the find where he discusses it. I wonder if he discusses it in the Sefer or it's something which is. There's many svarim really, but or it's just a minig which is passed down. He said you received it from the Ben Ish Chai, that minig.
My mother grew up by the Ben Ish Chai, so.
Yeah, but Ben Ish Chai, all the pashas has nothing to do
Oh, but the
with
Ben Ish Chai was
with the pasha. The pashas have nothing to do
Ben Ish Chai was 200 years ago.
200 years ago, right?
Yeah, my grandfather passed away was 107.
He was
About 40
107.
About 47 years ago.
He was how old?
107. He got the bracha on the chuppah from the Ben Ish Chai. Ben Ish Chai was the Kiddushin. He told him in your lifetime you will not see death of your children. He had 12 children, and he passed away. My uncle, my aunts are dying one after
He was 107.
Wow. They were all old.
That is
They
amazing.
said Bachar Shel Tzaddik.
After he passed away,
Now I have maybe two, but they're very old.
Your mother said that she remembers that from your father. That's what your father used to do. That your grandfather used to do.
She grew up in the house of my grandfather.
When you wrapped it around towels, totally wrapped it around towels? Entirely?
I think so. It's a big pot. You call it children. We
but
call
it was
it
still
tebit.
on the fire.
It's a bit.
It's on the
It
fire.
was on
yeah.
the black with the fire, and she covered it with. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, because it's not so simple. Because we're going to discuss that. So you have to look into this.
Okay. I have homework.
But look, when
Yeah.
you cover,
We want to make a series. We want to continue next Thursday. We want to continue as this, and not everything one
you
foot.
cover the pot, the show pot with the cover. So what's the difference if you put a towel?
No, because
That only retains the heat. It doesn't add.
we're going to discuss this halacha in the Perek Metaynim, the Gemara, and the Perek Metaynim. There's a story. There's a story with a kuppah, which you put a data in a kuppah. You put a pat inside a kuppah. A kuppah is a box, and under it you put gefes. Gefes is
From olives, I think.
no,
right?
it's two pirushim. The Gemara says it says of olives. Yeah, olives.
It's kind of like a schmutz or something from the plant.
Right.
It's not
Before I say
olive
gefes,
fruit,
I mean the gefes is the Gemara.
something like that.
So
It's fiber. It's fiber.
it's leftovers of
wool.
leftovers of olives. So the gefes in the Mishnah where it says that's considered something which adds heat. So it says that you're not allowed to put this pot of food. You're surrounding it by something which just contains the heat. The box is just something which contains the heat. But under it is something which adds the heat. Not only adds, I'm saying it brings up heat. It says you can't do it.
It's cooking. Cooking and
No,
shop.
it's not. It's not cooking. It's already fully cooked.
It's adding heat. It's like compost. The compost pile makes heat. When you put all the
Right.
trimmings and things, it makes natural heat.
They have now these meals. I never used it in the store kosher. You don't need a fire like that. So you break something into this, and it makes the Boy Scouts have these things.
Yeah.
Out.
Meals
The
ready.
Gemara is saying there's certain chemicals of sharp seed.
Yeah, they have.
There's such a thing.
So
That's a big problem. That would be a problem.
The military has it.
They have this in the army stores.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
uses a natural
MR, they
process.
call it MRE.
I don't know how it works, but there's no fire.
The tabs,
That's
the hot
hot.
tabs.
It's a chemical.
this is a whole discussion.
It releases
halacha.
a gas. It releases a
You get
gas. When
into-
you open it, that's what happens.
Is that
The gas
even though
gives it
you're
heat.
hiding, let's say, in towels, like you're talking about, right? But there's under it, there's heat coming up from under from the fire,
It's the gas, the blech.
right? But
Put
it's
the blech. You have the fire under the blech. You put the pot, cover, and then you put the towel on it.
Right.
That's the procedure.
right. But so so this halacha, which the Gemara is brought down in Shulchan Aruch, is talking about something you're surrounding it with something that just contains the heat, like you said, a towel. But from under, heat is coming up from under, like a fire.
Okay.
And the Gemara says this is a problem. So that's why I have to understand. There's different opinions. If it has to be touching the fire under it, or if it's or there's a separation between the fire. So you're saying that you put a blach there, right? You have to put a blach there anyhow because of shahiyah, but there's still So it depends on those shittas. So this
It might be she didn't put it under the flame. The flame is only here or here. She put it here maybe.
I'll puts it next to it.
Next.
Is that what she does?
I think so.
So that might make a
I have
difference.
to ask her. She passed away 15 years ago. I have to go to
You have to ask a Shailas Chalayim. But you're saying could be that it was on the side.
I think so. I'm not sure.
That could be a difference.
I know I used to come from the army. I was waiting for it. Just to make a special.
Okay, let's just finish up this Gemara for a Maidiv. Got a little less. It's interesting. Adds makes it interesting.
It's spices
Spices,
for the Gemara.
right? Yeah, 100%. Why can't you do Hatmana? Why can't you immerse a pot of food inside something which adds heat? Even out of Shabbos, you're not allowed to do that. What's the reason for it? Because you might come, if we're going to allow you to put it in something which will make it hevel, we're worried that you might come and put in something else which adds heat. What's that other thing?
Remetz.
What's remetz? Remetz is ash mixed with coals. And what's the problem with that?
There's little pieces of fire in it.
So let him put it inside this ash mixed with coals. Maybe if you're gonna put it inside here, you're gonna stir up.
Stir up like a choke. Yeah.
That's a good word. Stir up the coals in order to make it hot. You had a question about Zeda l'Zeda. So the Gemara asks. So there's the Rishonim asks Zeda l'Zeda. He says because at the time that they made the Gzeda, both were part. This was all part of the original one. When do you make Gzeda? It was one at one point in time, and later was an.
Well, it's just an extension of the.
Yeah, it's just an extension of the first Gzeda. Fine. So we have a Gemara. So the Gemara explains why we don't put Erev Shabbos in something which adds heat, because you might put it in remetz, and over there you might stir up to make it to cook. On the other hand, however, something which is not Mesav Hevel, you are allowed to do Erev Shabbos. But on Shabbos you cannot do it because you might come to find it in cold. Might find it cold, and you might come to cook it up. Okay, Bez Hashem, next week I was able to make it. We'll continue Hatmana.